Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Parliament Broadcasting Network. We are live on cable channel 11, 105.5 FM, and on the internet at www.ttparliament.org. This afternoon, we are standing by to bring you live coverage of the 7th sitting of the House of Representatives in the first session of the 11th Republican Parliament. Today's debate is expected to continue on the Appropriation Financial Year 2016 Bill 2015. When the debate adjourned yesterday, the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Colm Imbert MP, was on his legs and he was concluding the debate. So he is expected to continue his wrap-up when the sitting starts in just under 10 seconds. So at this time, we go straight over to the Parliament chamber as we await the arrival of the presiding officer. Welcome to the 7th sitting of the House of Representatives in the first session of the 11th Republican Parliament, which takes place on Wednesday, October 14th, 2015.
We give you thanks, the Creator of the universe, and humbly beseech you to direct and prosper the deliberations of the members of this House here assembled for the advancement of your glory and the trust and welfare of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Grant that peace and happiness, truth and justice may be established among us for all generations. Amen. Amen. Namaste.
Oath or affirmations, announcements by the Speaker.
Honorable members, the period for the appointment of certain joint select committees pursuant to Section 66A of the Constitution will expire on October 22, 2015. In light of the fact that Parliament will likely still be engaged in the budget process by that date, I propose that at the appropriate time before the conclusion of the budget process in this House, the necessary procedural step be taken to invoke the constitutional provision that allows for the appointment of such committees at a later date. I wish to suggest that the appointments to the Joint Select Committees take place no later than Friday, November 13, 2015. I do hope that all members are amenable to this arrangement.
Public business, government business, bills second reading.
Honorable members, the debate on the second reading of the following bill, which was in progress when the House adjourned on Tuesday, October 13th, 2015, will be resumed. A bill entitled, An Act to Provide for the Services of Trinidad and Tobago for the financial year ending 30th day of September 2016. I now call upon the Minister of Finance, who has 10 minutes extended speaking time, within which I expect him to wrap up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you would have noticed a certain level of outrage on my part last night in the first part of my winding up. This, Madam Speaker, was as a result of my astonishment at the bold-faced denial on the part of the former Prime Minister and the members opposite with respect to their knowledge of the true state of the country's finances. That the member for Siparia could come into this House and claim to be unaware of the $7 billion deficit that they incurred in 2015. Not $7, Madam Speaker, not $700, Madam Speaker, but a deficit of $7 billion. That they could claim to be unaware that they had maxed out the overdraft at the central bank to such an extent that funds in the Green Fund and the Unemployment Fund are no longer available to the citizens of this country. That the former Prime Minister could claim to be unaware that they took our cash balances from $6.5 billion in credit in May 2010 to $8.5 billion in deficit in September 2015, thereby squandering $15 billion in cash reserves. That they could claim not to know that they paid $1 billion in legal fees to friends and supporters when the whole country knew of this disgrace. That they could claim to be unaware that in addition to squandering $15 billion in cash balances, they also increased the public debt by over $30 billion during their tenure. When the public just had to turn on the television during the run-up to the election and see with their own eyes millions of dollars of taxpayers' money wasted almost every day on government propaganda, when the whole country knew that they were engaging in reckless and irresponsible spending, that they could so easily try to throw a public servant under the bus in order to shift the blame for their decision to spend over $500 million on 5 more helicopters of dubious value, when in reality, the records show it was the National Security Council, headed by the former Prime Minister, who authorized this questionable purchase. That they could tell such blatant untruths so easily about the use by the new Prime Minister of the government's helicopter in an effort to deflect justified criticism of the fact that the previous Prime Minister used the helicopters like a private taxi, when it is a matter of public record that Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley has not traveled to Tobago since the general election, whether by air or by sea, and has not set foot in a government helicopter since assuming office. That they could so easily accuse us of trying to bribe the trade unions with our allocation of $15 million for institutional strengthening and training for the entire labor movement, which currently comprises over 500 registered trade unions, with almost 100 of these trade unions being active, when they secretly gave a single trade union, the PSA, $10 million in 2014. And when caught with their pants down, all they can say is, so what? That is what I had to listen to last night, Madam Speaker. When they are caught telling untruths, all they can say is, so what? When their extravagance, waste, deception, and mismanagement is revealed, all they can say is, so what? When the fact is revealed that they have committed this country to billions of dollars in questionable contracts of dubious value, without any source of funds, without any proper financing in place, without cabinet approval, all they could tell us is, so what? So you'll forgive me for my outrage, Madam Speaker. I just could not believe that the members opposite could be so divorced from reality and so willing to mislead the population. Now, Madam Speaker, in the 5 minutes and 21 seconds that I have left, let me look forward Madam Speaker, I have in my possession a crude oil price forecast, long-term 2015 to 2025. Forecast done by the World Bank, the IMF, and the Economic Intelligence Unit, Madam Speaker. Also the OECD. And Madam Speaker, the World Bank projects that oil will reach approximately $61 in 2016 and $64 in 2017. The IMF projects that oil will reach $60 in 2016 and $63 in 2017. The Economic Intelligence Unit projects $69 in 2016 and $80 in 2017. And the OECD projects $65 in 2016 and close to $70 in 2017, Madam Speaker. So that assuming that all of these analysts, these are the world experts in oil forecasting, and these are current forecasts, Madam Speaker. So assuming that these world analysts are correct, we should expect to see a recovery of oil prices by 2017 of somewhere in the vicinity of $65 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate, Madam Speaker. And $65 a barrel is quite similar to the average price received. I think they actually got approximately $60 a barrel for the fiscal year 2015, because it started at 80 and it went to 45, Madam Speaker. And with a $65 barrel of oil, our revenues should be significantly enhanced. We should earn at least another $10 billion when the multiplier effect comes into play, Madam Speaker. So in addition to the improvements in revenue collection, and as I said last night, Price Waterhouse, not me, has estimated, and quite correctly so in my opinion, that with proper revenue collection in Trinidad and Tobago, with a revenue authority, with proper information sharing between the customs, between the Board of Inland Revenue, between the persons who collect VAT, proper communication, coordination, collaboration, streamlining, and institutional strengthening, that we should be able in Trinidad and Tobago to collect an additional $5 billion in revenue, Madam Speaker. So looking forward, if oil prices recover and we get that additional $10 billion, and if we can reach our targets in terms of revenue collection of another 5, we should have enhanced revenues by 2017 of $15 billion, Madam Deputy Speaker, which should be able to allow us to continue on our path to growth and recovery, Madam Speaker. So this is the plan going forward, Madam Speaker. Of course, we'll have to monitor it. If, in fact, oil prices continue to be in a slump, we will have to look at other measures. We'll have to look at other fiscal measures. We'll have to look at other policy, Madam Speaker. But we are reasonably confident in terms of revenue collection reform, in terms of having a national dialogue with the country on the fuel subsidy and so on, in terms of efficiency in the VAT administration, that we will be able to bring this country back onto a sustainable path by the year 2017. And why do I say the year 2017, Madam Speaker? Because it is in that year that, if it becomes necessary, we would have to avail ourselves of the last significant asset from the repayment of advances made to the CL Group with respect to the government's bailout of the CL Group, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, as I close, again I must express my astonishment at the behavior of members opposite. One would think they were not living in this country in 2015. They are certainly in denial, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I am proud to be given the responsibility on behalf of our team, on behalf of the PNM government, to be able to level with the population, to bring the population into our confidence, to let them know what is happening in this country, and to let them know that there is a future, there is growth, there is recovery. We will rebuild confidence under the People's National Movement government. I beg to move, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, the question is that a bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Service of Trinidad and Tobago for the financial year ending on the 30th day of September 2016 be now read a second time. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it.
A bill entitled, An Act to Provide for the Service of Trinidad and Tobago for the financial year ending on the 30th day of September 2016.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order 81.8, I beg to move that a bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Service of Trinidad and Tobago for the financial year ending on the 30th day of September 2016 be referred to the Standing Finance Committee for the consideration of the bill together with the estimates.
The House shall now go into Standing Finance Committee to consider the bill and the estimates. Honorable members, the Prime Minister has requested to be excused from today's sitting due to ill health. The documents referred. Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 81.2 and 8, the estimates containing the details of the financial requirements along with the appropriation bill have been referred to this committee for consideration. The documents before the committee therefore include the draft estimates, details of estimates of recurrent expenditure, the draft estimates of revenue and expenditure of the statutory boards and similar bodies and of the Tobago House of Assembly, the draft estimates of development program. In accordance with Standing Order 85.1, the consideration of the clauses of the bill will be postponed until after the consideration of the schedule, which lists the heads of expenditure to be approved. The heads will be considered in the order submitted by the Honorable Leader of the Opposition. I wish to now discuss with the committee the proposed work schedule. Honorable members, there are 41 heads of expenditure to be considered over a 5-day period. And I propose that the committee sit on each allotted day until 8 p.m. The speaking time will be as follows. Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 45.1, the speaking time in Standing Finance Committee shall not exceed 5 minutes on each intervention. Each minister will be given the option to make an opening statement on the ministry's priority areas for the upcoming year for no more than 5 minutes. And the procedure for the consideration of each head, I propose, shall be as follows. Honorable members, the procedure for each head of expenditure will be as follows. 1, the head and the amount to be appropriated will be announced by me as chairman. 2, the minister will then be given the option to make a brief opening statement not exceeding 5 minutes. 3, the chairman will then propose the question that the sum proposed stand part of the schedule. 4, For each head of expenditure, the chairman will call the subhead followed by the item. The sub-items will not be called. Members will be allowed to seek clarification on the item called and its sub-items. The chairman will then repeat the procedure for the development program. 5. Once this is concluded, the chairman will then put the question that is some stand part of the schedule. 6. The procedure will be repeated for each head of expenditure. Members will note we have invited the accounting officers and technocrats to arrive at specific times during the day, so we have to try to stick to the schedule. I wish now to give notice of certain additional agenda items. Firstly, the deferral of the office of the Prime Minister. Due to the unavoidable absence of the Prime Minister, has there been any agreement to take the office of the Prime Minister tomorrow?
Chairman, bearing in mind that the Prime Minister is ill, unwell, we wish him, of course, a speedy recovery, and we would be prepared to defer that item to tomorrow if he's feeling better, depending on his, his own health.
Thank you, Honourable Member for Appropriation East.
Madam Chairman, we did indicate that we were requesting the deferral given the situation, and I'm happy. We asked for it to be deferred until tomorrow, so I'm happy that the member has agreed.
Could I, for the record, indicate that when this was asked of us, we were unaware that the Prime Minister was indeed ill. We were not aware of the reason for his absence, but in the context of his illness, we would be happy to defer and wish him a speedy recovery.
I thank you, members. And secondly, the consideration of the Tobago House of Assembly.
He ill too?
Honourable members, I crave your indulgence to have the committee agree on the time for the examination of the Tobago House of Assembly in order to allow the representatives of the Assembly to make arrangements to come to Trinidad. May I suggest that given the order submitted by the Leader of the Opposition, the Tobago House of Assembly be examined first tomorrow.
We certainly have no difficulty with that, Madam.
I'm grateful to you both.
In the circumstances where two heads are being deferred for tomorrow, and there are other items, starting from one going down, are we to also agree that should heads be moved up to make up the spaces for where the Prime Minister is ill and cannot come, where the THA cannot come today, so that we proceed to other heads that are lower down in the order of business to be dealt with.
Yes. Honourable Member for Superior, I am guided by your suggestion. It was my understanding, though, that the Tobago House of Assembly would have been making their presence here tomorrow in any event. The only matter that is really being asked to be considered under the announcement that I made was, rather than leaving Tobago House of Assembly at risk later in the evening tomorrow, that they be taken first to allow for them to plan for their coming and allow their departure tomorrow. As regards your observation with respect to the office of the Prime Minister, it was, even though it may not have been expressed, I think what the Chair intended is that we would proceed with the order as had been indicated, except that 3 would be substituted by 4, and we just continue with the order as set out by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Honorable members, at this time, the sitting of the Standing Finance Committee will be suspended for 5 minutes just for us to make the physical arrangements for the technocrats and the accounting officers.
Follow the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago on Twitter